Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone. I'm Brian Tremont, the managing partner at Wilkinson Barker Nauer and a member of the executive committee of the Telecommunications section of the Federalist Society. It is my honor this morning to introduce our moderator, Judge Jennifer Walker Elrod, who's a circuit judge on the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit in Houston. Prior to her confirmation, Judge Elrod was appointed and twice elected judge of the 190th District Court of Harris County, Texas. And prior to that, had a career, she's a Phi Beta graduate of Baylor University and graduated from the Harvard Law School, where she pointed out that she was a member of the Federalist Society when it wasn't that cool to be a member of the Federalist Society. Judge Elrod will be presiding over our discussion this morning and the initial remarks by Commissioner McDowell. So with that, I'll turn it over to Judge Elrod.
Good morning. Welcome to our discussion today. We're going to be discussing telecommunications, broadband, and net neutrality. So we're very pleased today to make some opening remarks before we begin. The FCC Commissioner Robert McDowell. Commissioner McDowell was first appointed to a seat on the FCC by President George W. Bush and unanimously confirmed by the Senate in 2006. He was reappointed by President Obama on June 25, 2009. Commissioner McDowell brings 16 years of private sector experience in the communications industry to this position. Immediately prior to joining the FCC, he was Senior Vice President for the Competitive Telecommunications Association, which represents competitive facilities-based telecommunications service providers and their supplier partners. Prior to that, he served as the Executive Vice President and General Counsel of America's Carrier Telecommunications Association. He received degrees from Duke University and the School of Law at the College of William and Mary. We're delighted to have Commissioner McDowell to make introductory remarks at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. That was nice. It's always good to have a brief introduction. I want to also thank all of you who have come up to me congratulating me on my recent election as governor of Virginia. But his name is Robert McDonnell, and he's a good guy, but a different person altogether. So I would like to thank the Federalist Society for inviting me to appear today. Thank you so much. And I don't know about you, but I'm really here to pick up some much-needed CLE credit. But I'm also here to listen to what promises to be a lively debate among our distinguished and very capable panelists. Only lawyers could look forward to spending an otherwise leisurely Saturday morning with other lawyers to discuss the finer details of the federal government's economic role in our constitutional system. But being an attorney myself, I feel it's okay to poke fun at ourselves, even if it's not politically correct. But I imagine some of you who are here in the audience today are actually billing this time. I don't know. Brian, was that a billable moment up there? Okay, great. So, but I know our panelists aren't billing right now. So, anyway, I wish, in all seriousness, I could spend more time listening to some of the fascinating panels the Federal Society has produced over the past 3 days. But we have so much going on at the FCC that it's hard for me to be away from there for very long. So next year may be one of the FCC's busiest ever. We are required by statute to review our media ownership rules every 4 years, and that quadrennial review must start in 2010. Concurrent with that, I expect we will also examine our localism rules for broadcasters. Additionally, the Stimulus Act mandates that the Commission present to Congress a national broadband plan by February 17th. And some of you may find that date familiar somewhere in the back of your minds. That was the original date for the digital television transition. And it's a very auspicious date. Congress loves to pick that date for us to do things by. So February 17th is somehow strangely auspicious. But anyway, we formalized our fact and opinion gathering for the National Broadband Plan with a notice of inquiry back in April. And since then, our broadband plan team has been hungrily harvesting and consuming data of every imaginable kind through numerous workshops, hearings, public notices, and other opportunities for public comment. In 95 days, it will be time to submit our concrete ideas to Congress, but who's counting? So I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that high-speed internet connectivity is vital to our country's future. I can't think of any aspect of our society that is not affected by the internet, either directly or indirectly. Even people who have no direct access to the net feel its effects, whether they realize it or not. Only 15 years have passed since it was privatized. Not only is the internet the fastest penetrating technology invented by humans, but after only a decade and a half, few of us can imagine an America without it. Some say that the FCC's actions directly affect about 1/6 of our economy and indirectly affect up to 40%. But considering that America's economy and culture increasingly ride on the rails of broadband, I posit to you this morning that what we do could influence nearly every aspect of our great nation. That is why it is so important not only to watch what we do at the FCC, but to commit yourself to becoming actively involved as well. We want to hear from you. As some have said before me, the world belongs to those who show up. And you all showed up, so thank you very much. So please tell us what you think of the broadband plan. What should it look like? My preference is that it should not be heavy-handed. It should not be heavy-handed industrial policy. It should remain flexible and iterative. I'm not sure that any part of our economy changes faster than the information, communications, and technology sector, and the FCC's plan should not restrict any positive and constructive developments that we cannot foresee today. It is no secret that the past year and a half has been the worst period in 80 years to raise money for anything, let alone capital expenditures. Nonetheless, by some estimates, this year the telecommunications sector may spend over $70 billion on new broadband infrastructure. That figure dwarfs any annual private or public investment in broadband throughout the world. Even in this day and age when we discuss spending trillions of dollars without much thought or apprehension, $70 billion is still a lot of money, at least to me. In fact, depending on how fast we want broadband speeds to be in the future, what kind of facilities we want deployed, and where we want them placed, the FCC's broadband plan team estimates that broadband ubiquity in America could cost anywhere between $20 billion and $350 billion. Chairman Janikowski and I agree in our preference for those capital expenditures to come from the private sector. So the question that hopefully dovetails well into the theme of this whole convention is, how does the government provide incentives for such massive amounts of private sector investment? If the FCC's October 1st hearing on capital formation in the broadband sector taught us only one thing, it was that one way to provide a disincentive for investment is to create regulatory uncertainty. At this point, our work on the National Broadband Plan has been a bit overshadowed by the Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, NPRM. The Commission launched last month entitled Preserving the Open Internet, also known as our Net Neutrality, NPRM. Although I dissented on the factual and legal predicates supporting the document, I concurred in opening a record to air the debate. It is important to keep an open mind in these important policy debates and to be part of the process. At the end of a transparent proceeding that is designed to produce a deep and substantive record, it is my hope that all 5 of us on the FCC will be moved only by the facts and the law. In the meantime, many questions swirl about this important item. Not being part of today's debate on this panel, but serving merely as an observer, I would love to hear good answers to them. So, among them are, is the internet broken? If so, is the government the best tool to fix it? How has the factual landscape changed in the past 2 years since the federal government last examined this market, resulting in findings that no systemic market failure existed to warrant regulation in this space? Why aren't long-standing non-state-controlled collaborative internet governance bodies the correct fora to address network management grievances? Is the government able to do better than the non-governmental bodies that have never failed to resolve a network management challenge? Can the FCC respond to cyber challenges in internet time. Keep in mind that not one of the 5 current commissioners is an engineer, and we are bound by constitutionally mandated legal procedures that, if nothing else, consume great amounts of time.